rebranding yourself for a career change. Let's put a pin in this episode. That's our theme for today. That's what we're talking about. For adulting, we're going to talk about rebranding yourself. So when you make a jump to a new career, you have to convince somebody that you're capable of making the jump and you're going to be successful at it. We spoke with Dorie Clark. So Dorie Clark teaches executive education at Duke University's Fuqua School of Business, and she wrote a book called Reinventing You. Her point of view is that your rebrand has to start with you. It's up to you to market yourself. It's so interesting. Joanne Bradford actually taught me this, where I always, when I was pitching her a new idea, I had this really annoying, terrible quality of explaining every reason it couldn't happen. And I was almost like anticipating pushback, and I was negative on the idea versus completely selling what the thing could be and why it was great. I think that's 100% true of what you need to do in a rebrand.
So often we tend to assume that other people will just intuitively grasp why we're making a transition and that we will be good in the new area that we're moving into. That almost never happens because other people are so busy, they're so maxed out, they're not paying attention, and they often just don't have the cognitive space to be able to process your reinvention. So it's not necessarily that they doubt you or they're aggressive about it, but they're not going to expend a lot of effort figuring it out. So we need to be the ones to craft our narrative and help explain to them, here's where I've been, here's where I'm going, and here's the connective tissue about why I will be able to add value in this new place.
Dorie also said the best way to pivot your career isn't necessarily to make a leap, but to take on a side hustle on nights and weekends. It gives you a safety net. It allows you to see if something can work. Then you can experiment to see if you're good at it, and if you're good at it enough to make it a new avenue or a new career.
I advise a lot of people when they're making a professional transition, all of the metaphors are so loaded and I think kind of damaging, just leap, just, jump off the bridge and, the magic net will appear. And I guess that's empowering, but it's also terrifying. And for responsible people, you might justifiably say, I'm not sure how I feel about leaping off of cliffs. So instead, I really try to propound a strategy in Reinventing You that it's not so much about leaping anywhere. It's about sauntering steadily and testing things out.
And then finally, she said there's going to be haters on the way. We know that there's haters all around. I was on my Twitter last night and I was like, God, people are such dicks. Anyways, don't get discouraged by the haters. Haters just mean that people are paying attention to you. And the biggest thing, this happened to me when I joined Barstool, is even the people closest to you can be haters. Sometimes I think people don't like to see other people take risks or to be successful or to find things that make them infinitely happy. And so don't worry if even the people closest to you, let alone the internet or a bunch of strangers or the people you work with, think you're not doing the right thing.
We often assume that the people closest to us are going to be our biggest boosters and the ones that really support us. But unfortunately, ironically, the opposite is often true because they feel like they need to protect us. So somehow they assume that we've literally never thought about the risks. And so they often will want to be the devil's advocate. And have you thought about this? Well, what about this? Isn't it risky to do that? And it can drive you crazy. Of course, they're coming from a good place. They want to protect you. They want to help you. But we often can't necessarily lean on them the way that we might want. We have to think about persuading them and showing them that we're serious about the transition, that it's not just some fleeting fad, and explain that we've thought through some of the potential downsides or consequences and that we've made a plan to mitigate against them.
So net, what do? If you want to make a huge pivot, experiment with the pivot. Don't necessarily quit your day job off the bat. 2 is be determined and be deliberate about how to market yourself. Convey what you're trying to do. Share your vision. Be specific about how you're going to make this thing successful, and then go do it. The last thing is make sure you have a plan. What happens if it goes this way? What happens if it goes that way? So have a plan to make sure that whatever it is you want to do, you're setting yourself up for success, and you're setting your partners or your investors or your champions and supporters up for success too.